In this video, we're going to discuss some of the features available in WhirlyGlobe 2.2, the latest release of the WhirlyGlobe library. Now, WhirlyGlobe is a toolkit available for iOS, that is iPad and iPhone, and soon Android. And what you can do with it is make an interactive 3D globe for your own app. Now, the most common way people use this is to display a tiled base map on top of the globe. And that's what we're looking at here. This is the geography class example from Mapbox. And what we've done here is stored it locally so we can page it very quickly. Now, it's hard to see because it's stored locally and paging so quickly, but it's loading in tiles as we need them. So as we zoom in, you'll see that the detail gets a lot more precise, and as we move around, it'll get rid of old tiles that we don't need and replace them with tiles that we do. And this is all on an interactive 3D globe. Now, there's a lot of other things that WhirlyGlobe can do, but this is the most common usage, is a tiled base map, either local or remote, and we'll take a look at a remote example next. Now, in this remote example, we're going to look at the Mapbox terrain dataset, and this is a sample provided by Mapbox on their servers. We're going to zoom into London here, and as we zoom in, you can see it's paging in new tiles. Now, these tiles are being paged in remotely, so there's a delay as those tiles come back from the server. When they come in, we display them and update the globe accordingly. So here, as we move to a new region, we can see those tiles coming in. And then if we move back to an old region, you can see it'll page in a lot faster because it has those tiles cached. Now, base maps are the most common usage of WhirlyGlobe, but there are a lot of other things you can do with it as well. And let's take a look at some of those. In this example, we're going to look at a satellite data set, again from Mapbox, overlaid with some animated weather data from Forecast.io. Those are the guys who make Dark Sky. Now, the base map here is again, it's a satellite data set from Mapbox, and then on top of that, we've got this transparent weather data, which is a series of maps in the same format, but they're transparent and we're animated between frames. And you have a lot of control over how that animation works. You can specify an individual frame, interpolation between frames, or if you want to get really tricky, you can provide your own OpenGL ES20 shader to interpolate between those frames. And there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with that. Now again, that was mostly imagery based, even the animated weather. WhirlyGlobe is capable of a lot of other things, features in particular, and let's look at some vector features. Now in this example, we're going to look at the geography class dataset overlaid with country vector features. So all of those black lines are countries, and those are being laid out on the curved globe, and you can see they all look pretty precise. Now, in addition to the vector features, we can do these interactive labels. So the labels are placed interactively by the system based on what space it has for them. So when you stop moving, it'll recalculate where the labels are and what their importance is, and then try to place them. So all the features in WhirlyGlobe are selectable. So here we're selecting vectors and screen labels, and that's all selectable within the toolkit. Now let's take a look at labels. There are two kinds of labels available in WhirlyGlobe. One is the 2D label, which is what we've been looking at here. Glasgow and London are screen labels. And there are also 3D labels, and the 3D labels are real geometry, so they change size as you move around. And those are also selectable as well. In addition to labels, we've got markers. Now, markers are basically just icons. There are 2D markers like this teardrop, of course, which are selectable. And there are 3D markers, which are geometry that sit on top of the globe. And that star is a 3D label, or a 3D marker, for example. Now we can display a lot of these features all at once. Here we're displaying about 1,000 markers at any given time. And we're letting the layout engine decide where we put them and how many we can display. And you notice it's still pretty fast, even with all of these individual features. So you can display a lot of features in WhirlyGlobe and have it be very fast. So here we're displaying shapes, and shapes are really nice for displaying certain types of features. We can do cylinders, spheres, and also these great circles with heights, and those are nice for displaying the connections between different locations on a globe. Another feature we have are stickers, and what stickers are large marker-like features that can cover a big swath of the globe, and it'll subdivide as necessary to cover the globe to a certain tolerance. And this is good for apparently putting smiley faces on the globe, but other things as well. And the last feature we'll show here are animated, animated whatever you want. In this case, it's an animated sphere, and its location is changing right before the frame is drawn. So to the user, it looks seamless. And you can do this with all the features. Now, one more thing that's also available is 3D terrain. So in the globe, you can have an elevation data set that provides the Z values for the tiles that you display on top. And here we've got an example from the Pacific Northwest in the US. There are a lot of interesting volcanoes to look at, so we'll pick one of those. And we're using the terrain data set from Mapbox, which is just a flat base map but has some nice relief in it. So here you can see that elevation really pops up above the globe, and it's true 3D, and it's paging as we get closer, and off in the distance has lower resolution as well. We'll switch to the satellite data set, and you can see the same thing overlaid on that elevation.